I'm going to bring it all together now and really outline an activity that's going to be a part of this lesson. And it's called the bullseye activity. The bullseye activity was developed by Dr. Tobias Lundgren, and it's a way of kind of going from values clarification all the way down to kind of the nitty-gritty aspect of identifying values-directed behaviors. The first step in the bullseye activity is actually clarifying your values in certain domains. And this really requires you to take a step back and figure out what's important. Who do you want to be in these different domains? How do you want to function? What matters to you? So there's only going to be 4 domains you're going to dive into for the purposes of completing this activity. The first is kind of work or education. I want you to come up with specific value statements related to work and education, meaning what matters most to you in this facet of your life. The other is the domain of relationships, and this is quite a big domain because it can constitute our immediate family members, as well as our friendships, and ultimately our relationships with coworkers and other people with whom we interact. The other area is domain is going to be personal growth and health. So you're going to reflect and create value statements about your own personal growth and health. And the very last one, and this is a real personal one as well, is what are you doing for kind of leisure and recreation? And a better way to think about this, what are you doing to relax and have fun in life? And so what are your values around that? So depending on what value statements you create, this is going to inform the next step in the bullseye activity. Step 2 of the bullseye activity is really estimating where you're at on your own dartboard. So we all have our own dartboard, and we can think about it as being split up into 4 sections. Each of those sections are the value domains you're going to create value statements for in the previous step. So we have kind of work, we have relationships, we have our personal health, and then we have leisure and recreation. And this is to really honestly assess the degree to which you're living consistent with who you want to be in each of those areas. So you're really going to place a dart in each one of those 4 quadrants. And the closer you are to the center, the bullseye, the more you're living consistent with who you want to be in that value domain. The further away from the bullseye, and if you're close to the rim, that means you're a very long way away from being the person you want to be in that area. So this step is just really about kind of an honest reflection of the degree to which you're living consistent with your values in those 4 domains. Step 3 is looking at kind of the discrepancy between what you value and how you're currently behaving, because that distance is what we want to actually shrink over time. And so often there's barriers, there's things that are getting in the way of you behaving and living consistent with your values. So the step 3 is all about reflecting on what's getting in the way. What are the barriers, obstacles, life circumstances that are interfering with your ability to be the person you want to be the worker you want to be the partner you want to be, take care of yourself and your own personal health in a manner that you know is really important. And last, doing things on a leisure or recreational basis that are really consistent with what you find matters most in life. So the next step here is to really find those barriers. The final step in the bullseye activity is to zero in on the bullseye and think about how do we move our darts closer to the center. And we have to give ourselves some room here in order to take baby steps towards that. Because you can imagine that you might actually put one of your darts on the outer rim. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to go from the outer rim to the center of the bullseye. But the point of this final step is to identify specific actions or decisions you can make on an ongoing basis that allow you to take a step towards living consistent with your values. And that's the ultimate aim, is to really do the work to identify what those values-directed behaviors are. But getting them down on paper is only, a quarter of the mission here. The ultimate goal is to take what you outline in terms of values-directed behavior and staying committed to actually engaging in those behaviors in real life. It is only when we actually commit to engaging in those actions that we can reap the resilient benefits on the back end. So beyond just completing the bullseye activity, I'm going to really encourage you all to take a step and actually engage in specific values-directed behaviors, and then take stock of whether you're reaping those resilient benefits. Well, I hope you enjoy completing the bullseye activity. I know personally I found it really useful. It helped me clarify what I truly did value in each of those domains, and more importantly, helped me focus in on the behaviors or actions I could take to living consistent with those values. And I can honestly say that when I reflect on where I'm at in life as a result of values clarification and commitment, that I feel like I have a fulfilling, meaningful, and satisfying life. And so you could take that anecdote as encouragement for engaging in the activity, but you can also trust the research. There's a lot of scientific research that has demonstrated the positive effects of values clarification and commitment. But I want to emphasize one thing. Clarifying your values and identifying those behaviors that will enable you to live consistent with them is only really a small part of the overall resilience process. The most important part is the commitment part. So I'm going to encourage you to use this roadmap, if you will, or this blueprint to guide actual actions in real life. That is, commit to doing what matters most. It's when you do that that you'll actually reap the resilient benefits. So I'm going to urge you to move forward, complete the activity, and if you can, communicate with your peers and share how this process went, because part of the learning experience is going to go beyond this lesson and consist of how you interact and share with each other.